how does having a PMO help the organisation? Such a lovely question to start with. So how does having a PMO help the organisation? What do you think?
We haven't set that up then. Definitely not. That's generally the first question, is it?
That's genuinely the first question.
Really? Okay. How does having a PMO help the organisation? In so many ways. If the PMO is designed, constituted, and sponsored effectively from the outset, it should be really focused on the change the business side of the business as opposed to run the business. So it's talking about improving capabilities, delivering strategy and strategic objectives, and even the question has PMO in it, right? So immediately you're like, okay, but which sort of PMO was the question asking about? And what I mean by that is, and to run some scenarios, if you work in a business where the general feeling is we start lots of stuff but don't really finish or deliver anything, then you might want some sort of portfolio office that makes sure you start and finish the right things in the right order to deliver some value. That would be a portfolio office. It might not go very deep, but it kind of sees a bit about everything. If you're in an organization where, God, let's not make the mistakes we did 2 years ago on this project, because that would be a nightmare, that would be more of a project office. That would be a project office with a specific sort of request and mandate to do some sort of lessons learned review so that you don't make the mistakes a third time. You could also make that a center of excellence and say, right, well, let's start from now and let's have some common methods and frameworks and templates and ways of doing things. And you set up a permanent office in a business sitting on the change the business side, and their entire role is to own that framework of how we do change here, so that whomever in the business asks or demands or mandates that we're going to run this project, everybody immediately goes, okay, center of excellence, show us how we do it. Yes, I remember those templates, and away you go. So it really depends on how you construct PMO. Lots of organizations that are big organizations or a very big a big budget for change, have a need to do lots of change, you would expect them to have some sort of center of excellence that owns frameworks and project methodologies, and then they would be the ones that then push project office or program office people into supporting individual projects or individual programs. And then sitting around that, you'd have the portfolio office that sits very closely with the executive to make sure we are doing these projects, we've stopped doing those, haven't we? Oh, you want to do a new project, where does that sit in the priorities? That sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, there is lots and lots of textbooks around. Indeed, there's the House of PMO's essentials courses, right, and textbook answers. But from my experience operating for 20 odd years as generally just satelliting into various organizations, that would be kind of the real life experience response to how does it help. It should help transform the business to where it wants to go, but it needs to be designed, set up and sponsored correctly.
Yeah. Well, the flip side to the question is what happens to an organization that's trying to deliver change that didn't have a PMO?
Okay, absolutely. So the easiest way to respond to that quickly, I think, would be, say, if you didn't have a portfolio office. If you don't have a portfolio office, then you're unlikely to have any understanding of all the change initiatives that all the leaders in that organization are trying to run. So you don't know if you've got 10 projects of a size or 100 mini-me's running. If you don't know how many projects you've got, you don't know how many people are trying to put some time into that. If you've got no framework, you don't know if people are spending most of their time on BAU or most of their time on change. If they're spending a lot of the time on BAU, then how are you delivering change? Well, because you've got lots of people walking around with capes on being superheroes, right? But that's only sustainable for so long. And then you find all our best people are leaving. Why is that? Well, because we're not. So there's all sorts of things that would be symptoms and perhaps indicators of, oh, we haven't really got a control of project offices. A portfolio office. Yeah. PMO in a project and program sense, every time you start one, somebody has to work out how you're going to do it. So if you haven't got a PMO, then typically you probably won't have a body of people called project managers or program managers. So you'll just give it to the best person in the business that knows that particular subject matter area expertise. So that person will spend the first X weeks and sleepless nights going, I don't know how to run a project. How am I going to do that? And then somebody else, they then go and have a coffee and moan about it. Said, oh, that's the same for me. I've been asked to do this project and I have no idea. What did you start with? So those are some of the symptoms and the challenges if you don't have PMO in the organisation, I think.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Graham, based on a lot of the conversations we've been having recently, and certainly at the exhibition that we were at, it still seems that that is the case for a lot of organisations, that they don't have a portfolio level type office. So they're just doing a bunch of projects and programmes, and some of it's going okay, some of it's chaotic. So it is very much a thing that's out there, and it's not just limited to kind of small, medium-sized businesses. This is big businesses that have been doing this kind of stuff for a while.
It's almost as if the successful businesses, and I've worked for some, they seem to make money despite their lack of project and program management, not because of it. It's like, oh my goodness, wow, but the share price is great. Okay, it could be fantastic if you did this better and had actually some benefits management at the end of it. Yeah, you're so right. I mean, cards on the table. I make a living going to organizations doing this. Why? Yeah. Why aren't organizations of any shape and size thinking we should kind of know what we need to be in the future? Yeah. I was listening to a podcast today, actually. It was really interesting. And this guy, he did say it wasn't his quote, so I can't say who it was, but he basically said, if you're not agile, then you're fragile. And you can treat that as an individual, right? But you could treat that as an organization. Every organization has to learn how to change.
Yes.
And right now, probably really quite quickly, given the world events. And if you haven't got the basics of some sort of list of initiatives, who's in charge of each, how much you're going to spend, what are you roughly trying to deliver, who's involved, and then some sort of summary status by color, by phase, by something, how on earth are you setting yourself up for success? Yeah.
It is until they get to a point where the business is in trouble because they've not changed enough. The code out of the world,
I do. So part of it comes down to, actually, if you go a level up, it becomes almost a question of organizational design rather than project program management maturity. In that, depending on the organization and the industry you're in, if you need to be consistently fleet of foot, why don't you have a transformation director? Yeah. Why is it given to the head of IT to manage change, or HR to manage, right? So, and I don't see many transformation directors. Transformation or delivery functions sit somewhere, either reporting into finance because it's all about the money, or all about operations because it's going to impact operations, right? But you need people with a different mindset than operations. So,
absolutely. And
I still think that has. If it doesn't come top down, it's going to struggle to grow bottom up.
Yeah, and we're certainly hearing a lot more of transformation officers starting up. And again, we're going to be digging into that subject soon, House of PMO, to find out exactly what it is that they're doing.